Welcome parents and students. This is lesson 7.2, so it's unit 7, lesson 2. And we continue our lesson on fractions. This is a lesson on fraction bars. Shade each fraction bar to show the fraction. First, divide the fraction bar into the correct unit fractions. Just as a review, remember a fraction, it's made up of a part and a whole. The top number is the numerator, the bottom number is called the denominator. The denominator tells us how many equal parts the bar has. The top, the numerator, tells us how many parts we're talking about. How many parts are we shading? How many parts are we dealing with? Okay, so that's the part that's shaded, the top, and the bottom tells us how many altogether. How many people are you sharing something with? So the example here, one part is shaded in. This whole, when you consider all the parts, it's called one whole. And this one's divided into 6 unit fractions. The unit fraction is the smallest part of the whole. It always has a 1 as a numerator. And the denominator tells us again that there's 6 whole parts. The tricky part in this lesson is to divide your whole into the correct amount of pieces. This one, we see the denominator is supposed to be divided into 3 parts. So I kind of look at it and go, I'm going to have to, if I want 3 parts, I'm going to have to make 2 lines. Did that sink in, class? If I want to have 3, here's the magic. If I want to have 3 parts, I have to make 2 lines. Okay, so did we do that right? Okay. Now, shade each fraction to show, shade each fraction bar to show the fraction. First, you divide the fraction into the correct unit. So did we do that? Yes, we divided it into 3 parts. They show a fraction as 2/3. So the top, I'm going to lay my pencil down sideways. I'm going to shade in 1/3. I'm going to show you this is 1/3. Okay, I shaded in 1 out of 3. But they want 2 to be shaded. So the top tells you how many I'm shading in. I'm shading in another one. So I add the 1 to the other, and that equals 2. And the 3 on the bottom tells us that there's 3 altogether. The top tells us how many we're talking about. We're shading in 2. We're talking about 2 out of 3. All right? So this one is tricky because it's wanting us to divide it into 8. So I always like to do it in halves. So I know this is half up here, so this is probably half right here, right underneath the H and O. That's half. Okay, then what's half of a half? Probably right here. So you notice I'm in fourths right now, but I want eighths, which is twice as much as a fourth. So I'm going to divide each section into half. So how many lines did I make? Probably I made 7, because it's always one less than I need. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. Do I have 8 pieces? Here's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 8/8 if you add them all up. Okay, so you wanted me to shade in 7. Well, I know there's 8 altogether, so I'm shading in probably all but 1. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I shaded in 7 out of 8. Here they want us to divide it into 4 sections. Again, because it's an even number, I can do halves. So this example kind of tells me where the halfway mark is. It's right here. So now it's divided into halves, but I want to divide it into fourths. So each half now gets divided. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. How many do they want me to shade in, class?
4.
They want me to shade in 2. They wanted me to shade in 2. We created 4 sections, but we shade in 2. There you go. Now I'm gonna divide it into 6. So here's my thirds. 6 is twice as much. So if I kind of copy my thirds, here's my thirds, 1, 2, 3, and then I divide each third in half, and that creates my 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they want me to shade in 5. So here's 1/6, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5/6. All right, looks like we did this already. We did 8ths, right? Number up here, number 3, we did 8ths. So I can just copy it. I can bring the middle down. Now I have halves. Divide the half into half. So that gives me 4ths. Divide each 4th into half. And now we have 8ths. Did you notice that?
Yes, Mr.
First, okay. How's that?
Yeah, now.
All right. I'm making sure the class could see it at the same time as those of you at home could see it. So what I did was I'm going to borrow another student's because he probably didn't get to see that. So first, if I want 8 altogether, first I divide it in halves, so that's halves. And then the halves become 4ths. See how we have 1, 2, 3, 4? Because I'm dividing each piece into 4ths. Then if I divide each one into half again, what's my unit fraction now? An 1/8. See how these look like they're doubling, but in fact, because they're fractions, they're halving, or I'm dividing each piece into 2. So I'm doubling the pieces that I had. I had 2 pieces and I doubled it to 4, then I doubled the 4 into 8s. Notice that the bigger this number seems to get, the smaller the piece is getting. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that because I didn't have my paper adjusted correctly. Now, instead of, we did the 7/8, now we just do 3 of them. So it doesn't even have to be the first 3. I mean, you could do it like this. And how many are shaded? 1, 2, 3. 3 out of 8. So I just kind of mixed it up there just to show you that you count the total number that's shaded, 3, and then you count the whole, which is 8. So this represents 3/8 of the whole. Okay. The back side is using number line.